So you want to know how to become a self-improvement anomaly? So driven and so disciplined that nothing will stop you from doing the hard work, not even your deepest cravings of comfort and pleasure. So focused that even your family won't recognize you. If that's what you really want, then this video is likely going to be transformative for you, but you have to remain focused the entire time. To help you with that, I would like to lay out a few rules you need to follow when watching this video. These will make sure you avoid any distractions and maximize the amount of information you can encode. The first rule is to grab a pen and something to write on. You can freely take as many notes as you can, but I will give you specific cues for key areas. The second rule is to put this video on full screen. Don't check the comments, the recommended videos, or anything. Third rule, if you are watching this on your computer, put your phone out of your sight. Go place it in another room, or give it to someone and tell them to give it back to you only when you are finished. This video itself will be a test of your willpower. The three key areas I'll talk about in this video are discipline, purpose, and passion. I'll also talk about motivation and willpower. This video will give you a good understanding of what these things really are, how they affect each other, and how to effectively build and use them. If you are ready, we can proceed in making you a self-improvement anomaly. Discipline isn't suffering. It's not pretty or cool, but it's not senseless pain either. Being disciplined doesn't mean you choose to endure suffering for the sake of it. It means you can push through because you see something beyond it. You have a reason to be in that trench when it's cold, wet, and painful. Leveling up your discipline isn't just about training yourself to face uncomfortable tasks. You need a foundation for everything. For discipline and self-improvement in general, you need that reason I just mentioned. You need to see something beyond the hardship you face. That isn't created out of nowhere, though. There are a few terms that are going to be important. These are all common words in the self-improvement space, but their definitions vary somewhat between individuals. These are my definitions, and you should keep them in mind when we use them throughout this video. Taking notes here would be good. Purpose is what you see as deeply meaningful. It could be anything from superficial success to personal growth to something outside of you. It could even be to just live in the moment. Nobody can give it to you, though, and your purpose can also morph over time as you learn new things about the world and yourself. Passion is the inner fire. It's a lasting and powerful mix of emotions that come from your purpose. It's the combination of fulfillment when working towards your purpose and the dread you'd feel when you abandon it. It lasts as long as your purpose does, but it can come in waves and feel faded at times. Motivation is a momentary desire. It can be created by your purpose and passion, but your motivation will never feed back into them. It can also be created externally. For example, if you watch a training montage of your favorite manga character and you feel a strong urge to go work out. That's motivation, not purpose or passion. Discipline is your commitment to the purpose. It's your conscious power to not give up in the face of challenges and hardship. It's also systematic and lasting. The precursor to discipline is willpower, which is momentary. You have probably heard many times how motivation isn't what you need. That discipline is the superior form. That's true. Motivation is transient. It's rooted in momentary emotions rather than greater fulfillment. Passion and purpose are crucial for discipline, though. Without them, discipline has nothing to anchor to, nothing to complement. It is, however, possible for discipline itself to be your purpose. Take Mike Tyson as an example. He was so disciplined without seemingly having that much passion for the sport itself. Truth is, Mike did have a passion for self-discipline and winning. That was what provided him with a reason to go running in the cold at 5 in the morning. How do you go about finding your reason to be disciplined? I'll oversimplify this to 2 states. One is a state where you avoid work, act on your motivations of comfort, and stick to your old habits. The other is a state of doing the hard work, even when it feels tough. You just don't give in to momentary desires. The key here is that your passion makes the first state of complacency more uncomfortable than the second state. Even if the work is something you hate, even if it feels like a chore, and you just want to be done with it, you'll find that by default you actually slip back into work when your mind is wandering or you feel yourself overwhelmed by the hard work. In more simple terms, you have to make complacency more painful than the hard work. This is where the difficult part of becoming disciplined comes in, because you can't develop discipline without finding deep meaning and value in your goal. Finding your purpose is a massive undertaking, and it will take time. I'm not going to pretend here that you can just summon it. Even if it feels like you have found your purpose and you feel that passion rising, it could be motivation in disguise and wear off quickly. I will give you a few things to think about while keeping the core idea in mind. First, you should free yourself from expectations. Even if you have a solid idea of what your goals look like, you have to open yourself up to change. Recognize that you don't have to conform to the identity you envision. If you are stubborn about your goals like being strong, intelligent, and rich, try to look for a reason beyond you, where those could serve as efficient tools. Another crucial part is opening yourself up to emotions and letting them guide you. This seems to be a massive no-no in the self-improvement space. It's much more common to isolate yourself from all emotions, or at least suppress the causality between them and your actions. You need to know that you can't understand emotions that you don't let yourself experience. You'll just get more and more lost if you try to shut them out. Obviously, this doesn't mean that your purpose is consuming social media and procrastinating all day. If you feel an emotional pull towards it, that's just momentary craving and habit. I don't mean you should act on every emotion you feel either. The key is feeling all of them, understanding where all of them come from. It's those deep-seated emotions and views you should focus on. You can't really find your purpose anywhere but your emotions. If you go against something that deeply resonates with you based on logic, you'll probably guarantee failure or unhappiness, most likely both. A valuable place to look for clues would be your past. What kind of future did you dream of as a child? What kind of stories did you like? What did you admire about them, or what character you looked up to? What's their purpose, and what made you drawn to it? Your pain is another worthwhile place to look for clues. I don't mean just physical pain, but something that makes you feel so bad that you wish you could change it with a snap of your fingers. This might be hard, because you could be hurt by a lot of things, but if the pain comes from something within yourself, like fear of failure or fear of being alone, then you should try to look beyond that. You also don't need to wait for something grand and otherworldly. Purpose can be simply to live life or help those you love. Purpose in this context could be something that gives you peace and happiness instead of some vast end goal. All of this will take time. You can't just go with one and call it your purpose. Doesn't work like that. You might not even be able to come up with your purpose with the current knowledge you have. There might be something you don't even know about yet, which would ignite your passion. If you really have difficulties finding your purpose, you shouldn't resort to forcing yourself to think of complacency as more painful than working. You most likely will not actually succeed in materializing that. I would also implore you to think of others. Maybe your purpose could be to help others who are struggling, be a force for good. Perhaps it's to be a good brother, a good son, a good parent to your future child, and a good spouse to your future partner. To explore that effectively, you need empathy. It's crucial and cannot be overlooked. You also can't project your own feelings onto others. You have to feel theirs as your own. Always know that pretending doesn't work. Your goal now is to find a way to make your current state actually unbearable compared to working hard. Also, don't believe anyone who says you need to lock yourself into your room for 3 days and stare at your walls until your purpose just pops into your head. That's a great way to settle for something that you'll end up ditching later on. The idea that your purpose and the passion born from it will always guide you, that discipline is only an automatic byproduct, is not the takeaway here. No matter what you want in life, you're going to face resistance. You're going to feel pain and suffering. Discipline is your commitment to the mission, especially when it gets tough. Fortunately, you can actually build a good routine even without purpose and strict discipline. That is done with willpower and building good habits. Building willpower is the precursor to building discipline. Generally, there are 3 principles to training willpower: exposure, progressive overload, and consistency. Sounds very similar to weight training, right? Well, it works pretty much the same way. First is exposure. Being exposed to and resisting impulses is the main mechanism of willpower. A common technique is putting something you have a craving for within your reach, and then refrain from fulfilling that craving. It could be sweets that you leave on your desk, always in your sight, but you don't eat them. That is willpower against impulse, resisting urges for immediate pleasure. Then there is willpower against aversion, resisting against comfort and habit. When you are in your warm shower, turn it slightly colder. You don't have to take an ice-cold shower right away if you can't bring yourself to do it, but the point is to always go a little outside of your normal comfort zone. Another tactic could be to close social media even for a moment when you are scrolling. If you haven't leveled up your willpower enough yet, that could be difficult, but try it anyway. Start small with something you can already do. It will feel uncomfortable, but it will be just doable. Don't try to jump into the deep end because you're going to fail. Then, you progressively overload into more powerful impulses and more stubborn aversions. You have to keep consistent with it. If you just abandon it at some point, you might be able to keep your willpower for some time, but at some point you'll adapt to the conformity and slip. As you train your willpower more and more, it will naturally start to change your daily routine and your habits. The next step is to transform that routine into discipline. Discipline also has to be exercised once the base is founded. It's a mental muscle that adapts to increasing resistance, much like willpower. Discipline is just more lasting. It gives you the ability to push past prolonged periods of hardship. Because of the systematic and purpose-driven nature of discipline, it will look different depending on what the road to achieving your goal is. Generally, building discipline consists of incrementally committing to harder and more uncomfortable tasks, but it's also developed through reflection. When you do find yourself pursuing something truly meaningful to you, some discipline is formed at the very start. In order to level it up further, you're going to have to do what I just mentioned. That is committing to harder and more difficult tasks. The other side is reflecting on your purpose, continually exploring it. This is equally important, as it will ensure that you will never forget what you are fighting for. It will also improve your ability to strategize. Reflection could be a part of meditation, for example. Revisit those feelings and emotions that tie you into your purpose.